Warning: the content of the video that you are about to watch pertains to the harvest of fur-bearing wildlife through the practice of ethical, sound wildlife management of modern-day trapping. If this bothers you, if it triggers you in any way, shape, or form, please leave this channel now. Hey trappers, Dale Billingsley here, Billingsley Brand Lures. Guys, what I got for you today is kind of a little bit different. I'm going to kind of go over some body grip stuff for conibears and some stabilizing that I use, and just kind of go over a little bit of that with you. It isn't much, it isn't a lot of earth-shattering information, but I do think it's going to be pretty good for you if you choose to use it. So without any further ado, let's set things up and get started here. All right, guys, so the first thing I want to start off with is the 220 conibear and how I like to run them and how I've got them stabilized and set up. I know a lot of y'all live in states where 220 is not legally used. You're restricted to either a 6-inch or a 5-inch jaw spread, and some of y'all can't use conibears at all. But let me get this thing going here. So you can see my stabilizers are, and I'll bring it in closer so you can see. My stabilizers are mounted right to my 220s. Now, they're not all set up this way, but a good majority of them are. The reason I do this is it's a speed thing, guys, is what it is. When I reach in the back of the truck to grab a conibear, stabilizer comes right with it. I'm not hunting around for stakes and sticks and all this other, I'm not Mickey Mousing around. I can just walk over, slam it in the trail, set the trap, put my blocking over it, and I'm gone. And the way these work, you just drill out the rivet holes, and they retrofit right into the rivet holes, and then they cotter pin in so that it's all one unit. We'll set things up here a little bit, and I'll kind of show you how I like to run them on a coon trail. All right, guys, so we're going to make believe we've got a coon trail coming through here. Normally there would be a lot of high grass and brush through here to set these in, but just for demonstration purposes only, this is how we are. Now I like my conibears up a pretty good ways. You can see there I'm 8 inches to the bottom, from the deck up to the bottom of the jaws. I'm 8 inches high. Now the reason I like to be that high, now I know a lot of guys are going to say, well, they'll just duck right under. No, generally speaking, they won't. The reason I like to be this high is, number one, I like to have that coon climb up into the trap instead of climbing over the trap. Does that make sense? Number two, I don't miss the bobcats. I don't miss the red fox. Now and then I'll catch a coyote in these. It isn't very, very often, but once in a while you do. And as far as blocking over top of my trap, I like to use cedar limbs. They're natural here. They grow everywhere around here. I just shove them down between the springs, like so, and kind of cross them across the top. Now, the reason I like to use these cedar limbs so much, like I said, first thing, they're natural, so they're everywhere. But number two, they don't blow away in the wind. Okay, grass blows away, and then when it rains also, grass gets matted down. And what that does is that creates a place for that coon to crawl over. He's not going to crawl over these cedar limbs. He's going to duck and go through them. Same way with the bobcat, same way with the red fox. Dogs, other than terriers, beagles, those kind of things, something about the size of timber, she'll stick her head right in there. But a hound will come up and hit this and go over it or go around it. Same with coyotes. 9 out of 10 of them will come up, hit it, and go over it or go around it. Guys, you got to use caution when you're using these conibears. I'm telling you, you've got to have some common sense about you. You can't just go slinging these things anywhere and everywhere, because they are a deadly, dangerous trap to domestics and to livestock. They're a fine tool in the hands of the right person. Just be very careful with them, okay? That's all I'm going to say. Anyway, that's running my 220s in coon trails. That's the way I like to do it. I don't use any buckets. I don't use boxes. And the reason being, Now, you see I've got to change it here just a minute. You see I've got a big gap here. What you could do is just poke some more in here, you know, to narrow this up. Anyway, back to buckets and boxes. I don't use them. And the reason being is, number one, I've got way too many possums in this country. And that's what we like to call them, as possum pails. Number two, if you do have a domestic around, there is no forgiveness, okay? When that thing flies out of that box or it flies out of the back of that bucket, you can be sure whatever sticks its head in there is going to be dead. So I don't like running them. Even late in the season when I used to trap here before I started going down south again, our weather is too inconsistent, like running buckets for bobcats or boxes for bobcats. We might be 10 degrees tonight, but tomorrow night we might jump up to 18 or 20 degrees above. All right. Once it gets up above 15 degrees, even actually 10 degrees, a lot of times those coon and those possums will start moving again. The next thing you know, you got traps plugged full of possums. So I don't even run them late in the season anymore for cats, just because they're just too much of a headache. Now, if you live, say, up in northern Minnesota, Wisconsin, Michigan, somewhere up in there, by all means, if you can run boxes and buckets for cats, then I would suggest you do so. But down here in the banana belt of Iowa, south of Interstate 80, we don't get enough of a winter very often anymore to show justice to run them. All right, so the other stabilizer I like to run on either 220s or 160s, either one, are these stabilizers. Now I've left this one up high enough just for demonstration purposes, but again, if I was using an actual trapping situation, I'd be down there around that 8 inches high. These are a fine deal. You'll see Mike and I run a lot of them on 330s down south, 280s and 330s down in Louisiana. Just because they're a fine deal for that. But the way these work, in case you haven't been around them, one side of the jaws sets in like this in those fingers, and then the other side sets in the other side, and then you set your trap, and then it's on there pretty good, pretty solid. Now, if it's really wet, all right, if you got a really wet fall, sometimes those coon, they get a little waspy to these, especially after you've caught one or two in that trail. They'll come up to them and they'll spin them. And they'll turn them right out of the way. So it is to your advantage that as you make a catch in that trail, just pull this thing and move it one direction or the other. And you don't have to go very far. If you go a couple of feet, 18 inches, 2 feet, one way or the other, then that coon doesn't know that it's there. He's expecting it to be up here where it was, and you're catching him before he ever gets there. That's just a little tip for you, because once in a while, especially them big old coon, they see two of them walking down a trail together, and Sam gets whacked. Ralph sets up and takes notice and pays attention. So it doesn't hurt anything to move these up or down the trail a little bit once in a while. Anyway, stabilizers are a fine deal if that's what you want to run. They work great. You can use, heck, you can even put a 110 on these if you wanted to. But 220s, 160s, 155s, they work great. Now, for those of you like in Missouri and I believe Ohio, and I think maybe possibly Pennsylvania, where you're restricted to a 5-inch by 5-inch conibear, nothing any bigger, then what I would do is start leaving these up just a little bit higher yet. Okay, get your conibear up there. If I'm at 8 here with a 220 with a 155, I would want to be up there around 10 inches high, and then really crowd and block that thing down. Okay, and again, if you're going to use grass, which I wouldn't, but if you're going to, I would look for big heavy weeds, something like goldenrod, something like horse weeds, iron weeds, whatever you want to call them in your area. Something big and heavy that the wind can't blow away, and it's going to block that coon from going over top of it, and he's going to want to go through it. Okay? Now, the stabilizers I like the least of any of them are these little H stands. They set way too low. There's not enough. If you build your own, it's a different story, but there's not enough leg here. I mean, there's 8 inches high. Well, actually, we'll be here. So there's 8 inches from the deck up to the bottom of the jaws, and I don't even have the legs in the ground yet. So if you push this down to where it stabilizes things and stakes your conibear all at the same time, you're getting too low, okay, in my opinion. Those coon are going to want to climb over top of it. So then you've really got to brush them down to make them stick their head in there. And the same way the red fox and the bobcats, you've really got to brush them down and brush them close. I don't like these. If I can get away without using them, I sure do every time. Like I said, if you can bend them and build your own to make those legs longer, then I think that'd be a great deal. But to buy them like this and to use them, I just don't care for them. Okay, and the next stabilizer that I got here is the KB stabilizer. And these things are, I've never used them before, guys. I'm gonna be real honest with you, but I think they're gonna be just the cherry on top of the sundae down in South Louisiana on those mink trails. Now, you can run a 110 on them if you choose to. I think Mike and I have decided we're going to put 160s in them more than anything, just because I don't know, if you've watched the videos from down there, the last 2 years when we were down there trapping, those mink are huge, guys. I mean, we've got mink down there that we lay on crawfish scales that are weighing 8 pounds in the round. That's a big mink. I don't care where you are, that's a big mink. So I think we're going to use 160s instead of the 110s. We may throw a few 110s in just to try them. But our biggest fear is that a coon is going to come through, or an otter maybe, and we want to make sure we catch him, Now, the only thing I can see that you want to do is wire or cable this stabilizer to your trap and then stake it off over here somewhere. That way you don't lose your stabilizer. But I would say if you're up, anywhere else, if you want to run these inside of a box culvert up against the wall, man, these things are going to be the ticket for that. Like I said, I've never used them. I don't know anything about them, but I'm fixing to learn. I would say that they're going to be the ticket, though. I really do. I believe that wholeheartedly. And here's what it would look like with a 160 on it. And you can imagine a couple of palmettos stuck in here. Palmettos were made for blocking down conibears. Guys, if you live in the South, use them palmettos. They were made for this. You just turn them so the palm is out on each side of the trap, and it kind of lays, the fingers of the palm lay across the top really nice. Man, you can't beat any better blocking than that right there. But again, I think these are going to be just the ticket for those mink trails. Hopefully what we're trying to do is preserve the trail a little more. You've seen us, if you watch the videos from the last couple of years, we were using number 11s on them, and we caught a lot of mink that way, there's no doubt about it. But you burn that trail up pretty quick. We're hopefully sticking some of these in there every so often, we can preserve that trail a little longer and maybe catch a few more that way. All right, guys, I think we're going to go ahead and end this video here. Like I said, there wasn't anything real earth-shattering in there, but I do believe there was some pretty good information in there if you choose to use it. I thank y'all for tuning in to watch, and if you would please, just hit that thumbs up for me. That's all I'm asking. Once again, this is Dale Billingsley with another one. Signing out.